Good afternoon, everyone. In accordance with Sections 45 and 53 of the Planning Act 1990 as amended, this meeting of the Committee of Adjustment of the City of Toronto is called to order. The Committee of Adjustment considers applications for variances from the provisions of the zoning that applies to property, permissions to extend or alter lawful non-conforming uses, and consent to sever property to create new lots. At this time, we'd like to begin this meeting with an acknowledgement that Indigenous communities have been part of this land and this area's history since time immemorial. We'd like to acknowledge this land on which we reside and work with gratitude and respect. It is the traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, the Wendat peoples, and the Métis peoples, now home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis peoples. We also acknowledge that Toronto is covered by Treaty 13 with the Mississaugas of the Credit, and we encourage you to reflect upon your personal commitments, both collectively and individually, in taking steps towards meaningful reconciliation with Indigenous communities. Let's note that September 30th of this year is the National Day for Truth and Reconciliation. Those who want to participate virtually and have registered in advance will be connecting with their computer, tablet, smartphone, telephone, and have the options of participating via video or audio only. All virtual participants will automatically be muted upon entry. When your item is being called, you will be unmuted by the moderator, one person at a time. We ask that you also mute your devices until you are called to speak. Please only use one device at a time, as use of additional devices can cause static noise, which may interfere with the audio of this hearing. To ensure further audio clarity, we suggest that you do not use the speakerphone function of your telephones. Those participating via video appearance will be temporarily upgraded to panelist when your item is being held. During this time, your camera will be enabled. You will only be visible during your 5-minute allotted speaking time. All other times, your video will be disabled and you will be reinstated as an attendee. For both in-person and virtual participants, Committee of Adjustment staff will share presentations submitted in accordance with the written submission deadline. Those participating through WebEx are not allowed to use the share screen or any other panelist controls during the video appearance. The Committee of Adjustment staff will remove you from the panelist role if you fail to respect this instruction. And for all those who are waiting online, please ensure that you have called in with the phone number that you originally registered with. If not, and if you use a different number, you will not be able to speak on the item. My name is Nadini Sankar Peralta, and I will be your chair for today's meeting. Joining us on the panel are some pretty astute members. We've got Nazila Atarodi West, member Paul Kidd, and member Ron Hunt online. Hardworking city staff are also present with us today, starting with our Deputy Secretary Treasurer, Mr. Simon Lamb. And then we've got some other key members in the hearing room today, and that's Sam Mozayani, Brendan Clapp, and Irvin Bridgeraj. Behind the scenes, we've got Jenny Kotas, Giovanna Rizzo, and Teresa Mbunwe, as well as Daphne Davis. Thank you all for your hard work. In terms of receiving a copy of a decision of the committee, people attending in person today who want to receive a copy of the decision of the committee on an application must fill out a decision request card, and those participating virtually need to submit a written request for a decision by email. Please ensure that you include your name, address, and the email address, because the Committee of Adjustment and the Toronto Local Appeal Body, the TLAB, will be sending notifications and appeal updates by email. If you do not agree with a decision of the committee, you may be able to appeal the decision to the TLAB or, in some limited circumstances, the Ontario Land Tribunal. However, the provincial government has amended the Planning Act and generally removed rights of third parties to appeal Committee of Adjustment decisions. Only the applicant, the Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing, and specified persons and public bodies, as those terms are defined in the Planning Act, are permitted to appeal decisions of the Committee of Adjustment. Appeal instructions are set out at the bottom of the decision of the committee. The hearing procedures are as follows. I will call each item in the order listed on the agenda. Where an application is uncontested, the agent or applicant may proceed with their presentation if desired. When the committee does not require a presentation, applicants are to advise the chair if they still wish to speak to the item. The committee may ask questions and or take the matter into committee for a decision. Each speaker, including the applicant or agent, is given a maximum of 5 minutes to address the committee. I will ask you to summarize your remarks when you are reaching the 5-minute mark without exception. Any presentation or other materials you wish to submit to the committee must have been emailed in advance of the hearing. Staff and committee members cannot accept materials at the hearing. When addressing the committee, please state your name and address clearly, and please remember to confine your remarks to the matters described in the application only. The applicant or agent will proceed first and will make a presentation to the committee on the application. Please note that the committee may not entertain revisions to proposals at the hearing today. The committee may decide to defer the application if substantially revised, to ensure the revised application is accurate and that all those entitled to the notice of the application are informed of the changes. Then individuals either in support or opposition of the application will be invited to speak. If more than one individual wishes to speak to the application, we ask that you try not to repeat the points already made by others. Generally, we call first upon the speakers in the hearing room and then those participating through WebEx. Committee members may ask questions of each speaker after they have finished their presentation, and when all speakers have finished, the applicant or agent has an opportunity to rebut those issues that were raised in the by the previous speakers within a 5-minute time frame. This will mark the end of discussion on the items, and only the panel members will speak at this time. The application will then be taken into the committee for a decision. So let's just double check if members, do you have any conflicts of interest to declare for the afternoon session? So if none is noted, that seems pretty good. I don't note any either, so let's now move on, and I'll ask Deputy Secretary Treasurer, we do have some minutes to approve for the afternoon session.
Through you, Madam Chair, we have 2 additional sets of minutes. The first one is May 25th, 2023, and present were Member Attarodi, Member Sankar, Member Kidd, and Member Hunt.
Okay, and for those minutes, can I get, for May 25th, someone to approve those minutes? Approved by, sorry, Member Kidd, go ahead. You're approving, yes, hands up. And seconded by Member Kidd. So all those in favor, and those minutes of May 25th have been approved.
Through you, Madam Chair, we have a second set of minutes dated June 22nd, 2023. In attendance were Member Attarodi, Member Hunt, and Member Sankar.
Okay, can I get a motion for the June 22nd minutes for approval?
Motion to adopt.
Okay, motion from Member Attarodi to adopt those minutes
June
and
2nd.
seconded by Member Hunt. All in favor? And those minutes have been approved. And so now I'll ask you, Deputy, do we have any items to defer?
Through you, Madam Chair, we have one item, number 19,
Number 19.
22 Yorkview Drive.
Okay, so Number 1922 Yorkview Drive. There are a couple folks here to speak to this application, and the agent's name is Mehdi Ajvand. Mehdi Ajvand, are you there? Mr. Ajvand, are you there? Okay, we're pulling him up at the moment. And just let me know when he's been unmuted. Okay, Mr. Ajvan, you've been unmuted. Are you there? Can you state your name and address for the record, please? Can you state your name and address?
Madam Chair, Mehdi is present, however, their microphone is not working. So I would suggest that they leave and rejoin.
Yeah, so I'll ask you then to log off and rejoin the meeting. If you can do that really quickly, we'd like to get this deferral out of the way first. And any members wishing for another deferral, please get in touch with the Deputy Simon Lamb or Brendan Clapp and let them know so that we can get to that as quickly as possible as well. Mr. Deputy, there's nothing to close, right?
Good afternoon. I'm here now.
Okay. None noted. Okay. Mr. Ajvan, if you can state your name and address for the record, please.
Sure. My name is Mehdi Ajvan. I'm here as the architect of project and as a representative for my client, owner of 22 Yorkview Drive.
Okay. And can you state the reason for your deferral, please?
Sure. There are a couple of reasons for that. We received several concerns from our neighborhood, and also my client failed to install and maintain the community sign, and we had this concern that public not fully aware of this situation. We had this discussion with community technician last week, and we decided to ask for deferral for both informing neighborhood and also be able to address our neighborhood concerns.
Okay. So those are legitimate reasons for a deferral. We do have a couple of folks here to speak on this. Let me just first ask the committee members, do you have any questions of Mr. Ajvan? If not, I just want to make sure that we ensure the area residents have had a chance to be okay or not okay with the deferral. Let's start with Stan Shuralyov. Is Stan Shuralyov there?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. If you could state your name and address for our records.
My name is Stan Shuralyov, 35 Yorkview Drive. I had a chance. She suggested, and I would suggest they review the proposals because they're not in line with our neighborhood.
Right. We're not going to talk about the proposal today. It's just simply about the deferral. He's wishing to defer just to get a chance to speak with neighbors, amongst other things. Are you okay with him requesting the deferral?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
perfect.
I'm okay with that.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Thank you very much. That being said, let's move on to Ann McConnell. Ann McConnell, are you there? If you can state your name and address for our records.
Ann McConnell, 33 Yorkview Drive, and I was calling in today on behalf of the Edithdale Young Community Association. And the only question I had is I couldn't actually hear the stated reasons for the deferral, if they could be made clear, especially the second reason.
Mr. Ajvan, if you can repeat your reasons for a deferral clearly, please.
We do have two reasons for that. First of all, we received some concerns from our neighborhood that we want to look at it and see if we can address them. And also on top of that, when client failed to install and maintain the community sign on the property, which we have a doubt that the public cannot be aware fully, and we decided to defer the case to be able to both install the sign at the proper time and also be able to address our neighborhood concerns.
Okay, does that help, Ms. McConnell?
It helps. I could still really only hear the first the first concern, but perhaps when I see, I don't know how we can, I just couldn't hear properly what the second concern was.
Well,
Madam Chair, do you want me to help?
I probably need some help with that too, because to be honest, I didn't hear it either.
Okay, Madam Chair, through you, his second concern, I believe, related to the proper posting of a sign on the property.
Okay,
Because it wasn't properly posted, proper notice was not given.
thank you, Deputy. So does that make sense for you, Ms. McConnell? It's not
Oh,
just
thank you.
about-
Yes, thank you. I could hear that. Thank you very much.
All right, that's perfect. Okay, thank you very much. Are you okay with the deferral then? I guess she's gone? Okay, yeah, just to
No, I
double
said,
check.
I said yes. Yes, thank you very much.
All
I'm in
right.
agreement with the deferral.
All
Thank
right, I
you.
appreciate that. Okay, Mr. Ajvand, there's no issues with requesting that.
Madam Chair, sorry to interrupt, if I may. There's one more speaker, late participant, late request. We've
Yes?
got a Robin Theron that wants to speak to this application as well.
Okay. Robin Theron, are you there?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, if you could state your name and address for the records, please.
My name is Robin Theron. I live at 7 Lurgan Drive,
Okay,
and I share one property line with the 22 Yorkview Drive. That is
okay. And as
now.
you can hear that there's a request for deferral to meet with neighbors and do a proper posting. Are you okay with him deferring to do that?
Yes, it's okay.
All right.
Although I did not quite hear the proposed delay, but anyway, if it's only delayed, I'm okay with it.
Right, it will be deferred, and I presume you will be, consulted in the near future. So you'll get a chance to discuss further. Okay?
Okay, the variances will be discussed in the future then.
Oh, yes. Okay, thank you so much.
Okay.
Madam
Thank
Chair,
you.
can I have a word? Sorry, can I have a word before you muted me? It's not related to this matter. Because me and my wife, Nushin Mozaffari, we have several cases today. Actually, she assigned for talk as a representative for some other cases that we have later today. I appreciate that if the I log in under my name. I appreciate that if the staff can just unmute me when the cases come in.
Yeah, when your cases come up, they will be able to unmute you at that moment.
Instead of Nushin
I'm not
Yes,
sure what
thank you.
those numbers are, but maybe you can get in touch with Brendan in the meantime. We don't want to slow down the
Sure.
hearing as we speak.
Sure.
So that being said, members, do you have any questions on the deferral? If not, can I get a motion, please? Motion from Member Hunt.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would like to move a motion to defer sine die this application in order for them to refile with the proper notice.
Okay, thank you so much. Member Hunt with a motion to defer this application sine die, seconded by Member Attarodi. All those in favor? Your application has been unanimously approved.
Thank you.
Deferred, sorry, deferred.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, give me one moment. All right, so let's move on then. If that's it for deferrals, let's move on to item number 17. Okay, so item number 17 is 485 Hopewell Avenue. Let's go right there. Members of the panel, Hopewell Avenue, this application is a proposed brick and block garage at the rear. I'd like you to know that there are 3 variances. There is a staff report of September 1st with a condition, just one small condition that's attached. And as I can see it here, there's no one to speak to this. There's just the owners that are on the line as well as the agent. And let's get the agent out, Danielle Oliveira. Mr. Oliveira, are you there? Yep, you've been unmuted. If you can state your name and address for the records, please. Mr. Oliveira, if you could state your name and address, please, for the records. They're unmuted. Who's in charge of 485 Hopewell? Yes, if you can state your name and address for the record, please.
Sorry, my name is Daniel Oliveira, and it's from 65 Parent Avenue.
Okay, thank you.
And
Now,
just so I can clear something up, I am not the agent. I am actually only here as I'm a friend, and I'm only here as a translator because the applicant, his English is not fluent, and he just asked, and I confirmed with the applicant technician that I could just be here as their translator.
As a Portuguese translator. Okay, not a problem. Thank you so much. And maybe you may not have to speak because there is no one to speak to this application. Let me just double check with committee members. Committee members, do you wish for a presentation on this application? Okay, committee members don't need a presentation. Perhaps you can ask them if there's anything they want to say because we're going to take it into committee for decision making. Is there anything they want to say? I mean, they don't have to present or anything, but if there's anything that they'd like to share, we can quickly accommodate that.
José, queres dizer alguma coisa?
I take the silence
José,
then to mean no. Nothing.
I believe yes. He did
Right.
mention beforehand he had nothing planned.
Okay, perfect. And so for that then, let's take it into committee for decision making. Members, one staff report, one condition attached, 3 variances, no other reports. Can I get a motion, please? Motion from Member Kidd.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Given the support from the city planning staff for this application, I'm going to put forward a motion to accept, subject to the condition that the approval applies to the as-built garage only.
Okay, thank you for Member Kidd with a motion to approve this application with that one condition, seconded by Member Attarodi. All those in favor? Your application has been unanimously approved. I don't know how to say that in Portuguese, but it's good news.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay, take care. Members, let's move on to item number 18. This is 505 Glen Park Avenue. Please note, members, there is someone to speak to this application. And this, the agent on here is an Eddie Perez. And if we can get Eddie Perez out.
Hi, good afternoon, Madam Chair and committee members. My name's Eddie Perez. I'm at 537 Rogers Road, and I'm here on behalf of the owner and the designers of the property.
Right, so because someone's here to speak to this, would you mind giving us a brief presentation on the merits of your application? And
we're proposing to build the city's calling it a 3-story because of the basement is not more than half below grade. If you look at the elevation, and it's very typical of houses in the area to be like this. I've attached a few pictures and decisions in the area. And this new bylaw came in recently, so this one is being called a 3. Also, the coverage is over a little bit because of the rear veranda at the rear. They're also counting that as well. All right, and then the height, as per the height, if you look at the pictures that I've attached as well, there's many houses with the same height and even greater than what we have. And also, the other one is the platform. which because of the way the basement is situated, they're counting that platform as being a second floor. But technically it's the first floor. It's off of the kitchen. It's a little higher than 1.2 meters off the grade. And my client did talk to the neighbor, and he's okay with putting privacy fence on both sides. So there'll be privacy for them and privacy for the neighbor. So I feel that this project is very moderate and it meets the 4 tests. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much for that. Members, do you have any questions? There being none, then let's move on to the first speaker that we've got here, noted Flavia Nardo. Flavia Nardo, are you there?
I am here, yes.
Yes, hi. If you could state your name and address for the record, please.
It's Flavia Nardo, and I live at 507 Glen Park Avenue.
Okay, thank you. And if you can tell us your concerns.
Okay, so I had submitted a question regarding the privacy that how the neighbor would maintain the privacy given the size of the back porch, and what options there were just to ensure that the deck or veranda, whatever it is, would allow me to maintain some privacy for me and my family.
Okay. Is that the only concern, or is there anything else that you'd like addressed?
No, that's the only concern I have.
Okay, and perhaps committee members may also consider that. There might be something they might be able to do, but let's see. So if we can get Mr. Perez back out. Oh, sorry, committee members, do you have any questions? There being none, Mr. Perez, could you address Ms. Nardo's questions?
Yeah, as I stated earlier, we're okay with putting a privacy fence there, so you can add it to the decision, and then we'll add it when we go for building permits.
Okay.
So it'll give privacy to my client and to the neighbors as well.
All right, thank you so much for that consideration. Members, if you have no more questions, can I get a motion and consider the privacy fencing if you are inclined to approve this application? Motion from Member Kidd.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I feel the requested variances are of a minor nature. I'd like to put forward a motion to accept the application subject to the condition that the property be developed substantially in accordance with the elevation drawings submitted to the Committee of Adjustment and attached as attachments 1, 2, and 3 to the planning staff report dated September the 1st, 2023. And in addition to that, the subject to the condition that the builder will put privacy screening along both sides of the rear balcony. What's the standard height for those? Do you know? Is it 1.5 or 1.8?
Member Hunt had an idea, I think last time. Was it 1.5, 1.6? Sorry, Member Hunt, you muted yourself again with all your knowledge.
That's right.
Oh. I believe it was, the standard is 1.8 meters.
Okay.
Thank you.
For privacy screening.
Okay. Privacy screening, 1.8 meter. And that's my
Okay.
motion.
Great, thank you. Member Kidd with a motion to approve that application with those conditions, and seconded by Member Hunt. All those in favor? Your application, Mr. Perez, has been approved with those conditions. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Goodbye.
Great. And now we move on to item number 20. Item number 20 is 2666 Yonge Street. And we will invite again Mr. Mehdi Ajvan to come back out. Mr. Ajvan, are you there?
Yes.
Great.
Good afternoon again.
State your name and address for the record again, please.
My name is Mehdi Ajvan. I'm here as the architect of project 3429 Yonge Street as a representative of my client, owner of the property, this one and the next application. I suggest 2666 and 2664. They are similar cases and they are beside each other. If the committee accepts, we can review it together and get approval on both. But whatever you say.
Let me just double check. Let's do it one at a time. It might reduce some confusion. So let's start with this one. And I just wanted to say there is someone to speak to this application who might be here in person, yes, and they're present. So let's start with that one at a time. Please, members, note that this is 3 variances. There is a letter of objection, and it might possibly be the person who is in here with us. So with that in mind, Mr. Ajvan, can you provide a brief, clear presentation on what are the merits of your application, please?
Sure, definitely. This application is for the addition of 1.5 story on top of existing commercial property, commercial building facing to the Yonge Street. We are proposing 1.5, one residential story and a mezzanine level as an addition to the existing commercial. We are keeping the existing wall on the main floor, especially those walls facing to the Yonge Street, and keeping those walls cause some of these variances. For this application 2666 Yonge Street, variance number 1 is related to the parking space, which is keeping the existing as it is. These 2 properties used to function as a one building, part of the commercial space, but now we are separating them and have 2 separate buildings legally on that. There was 1 legal parking space at the back, which we are keeping that 1 parking space as it is. But since we are somehow separating these 2 buildings, we have half a space for each of those buildings. That's the main reason for causing variance number 1. But we are keeping the existing 1 parking spot existing at the back, which there is a right of access to the right of way. For variance number 2 and variance number 3 is exactly because we are keeping the existing wall facing to the Yonge Street. That's caused the variance about the our setback from the Yonge Street is 0.35 instead of 1.5 meter for 0.5 meter, and this is related to the face of building facing to the Yonge Street, not at the rear. The height of building we are asking less than what we have to. Instead of 10.5 meter, we are proposing 9.44 meter, which is again in compliance with the character of neighborhood. We have another commercial building on our side. We have 1-story commercial building on our north side, and this is our proposal. We received some concerns from our immediate neighbor at the back at the Leighton Boulevard. I received that concern letter. We had a meeting on job site with them. There was some concern which are more technical concern regarding their HVAC system, water heat pump system, and having access to their garbage bin through our property, which my client agreed in written with them that we will cover and we will address those issues during construction. We will cover the cost for them to relocate their HVAC system, although it's not in our property, but we agree to do that, and also providing access to their garbage bin through our website, through our property later on. I would be more than happy if there was any question to be addressed.
Okay, thank you for that. Members, did you have any questions? Okay, there being none, let's hear from the area resident who's here in person. If you'd like to come forward and head to this microphone right here. I want to just tap it to see that it is working. We did have some technical.
Hello? Yep.
There you go.
If
you could state your name and address for
sure,
records, please.
It's Barbara Pollock, 7 Lytton Boulevard.
Thank you. And please share your concerns with us.
Okay, so there were a couple of concerns. One being the parking. I was trying to understand what he was saying, but right now I know there's 2 cars parked back there at all times. There's two businesses, and they each have one parking spot. So now they want to increase the density, so it's going to be 2 businesses, and I don't know how many apartments that they're actually trying to build. 3, I'm not sure. So there's going to be about 5 places that have to, are going to need parking, and they're going down to 1 parking spot in total. And we have a real parking issue on the street. Right now, there isn't enough parking as it is. There's a lot of illegally parked cars, and it's a very difficult intersection to navigate. So losing the parking while increasing the density is an issue for myself. And another neighbor of ours also sent in an objection, I believe, that you should have.
We do have a letter of objection on file, so that must
Yeah,
be from-
so the parking is an issue for us
Right.
because we
Now,
feel.
just to point out, and unless a city corrects me, I didn't see something from transportation that has come in around parking. Usually they would do the studies, and we hadn't seen anything like that. But, I mean, please continue. Share your
Who would you
concerns.
get that from the transportation?
They normally would send in something to say if they thought that it was going to be a really big concern.
Okay.
And they have the expertise to understand and measure density
Right.
and how much and the traffic flow and all of that.
Okay. Well,
So we didn't get it for either of these properties unless there is a late report.
okay.
And checking with the deputy, he's shaking his head no.
Okay. Well, right now, just from the perspective of us as neighbors, we just see a real
Yes.
problem. There's tons of cars parked legally on the street and then illegally.
Right.
And we're now looking at adding, possibly 4 new tenants into that area.
Right.
And they will likely need to park somewhere. So that's going to be more cars on the street. So that's one objection that we had. The other one, I am right at the side of them, of this development. I don't know, because they're building up and I have windows on the side of my house, like it was built 100 years ago, so before code. I don't know if there's any fire issues or any issues with regards to that. So I'm assuming they've done their due diligence on that, but it's been pointed out to me that there could be a concern with fire because there's windows at that bedroom. So first of all, they're going to be blocked, which I don't know if I get to, comment on that. The light and everything is going to be blocked, but also the fact that there could be fire issues. So that's
Okay.
okay.
All right, not a problem.
Okay. And then the third thing, I guess one of my major ones, which I have a picture. So I have a new HVAC system, which I had literally installed, and it's at the side of my house. And they plan on building right in front of it.
Right.
And so the architect, as he just mentioned, he did come and meet with me, and they have suggested that they would pay for it to be moved. It's a brand new system. I'm concerned about having it moved. I don't even know if it can be moved. I haven't had a chance to talk to the HVAC people who installed it, what that entails to move it, and
So
if
that
there's
could
another
be a
safe.
private agreement that you could ensue with him.
Right.
And, sort of get his commitment over us having it aired on YouTube. That's sort
Right.
of proof. But
in the meantime, if they build right in front of it, my preference would be for it not to be moved. And if they build right in front of it, it can't be accessed. It wouldn't have enough airflow. It would stop working. And
Okay.
it's a system I just put in.
okay.
So I don't know how that works.
Okay. Did you want to show that picture? I know it's not within our parameters, but just to show it to the members up here
Sure.
who are making the decision. I know, Member Hunt, you can't see it. It's sort of just a photo. You can come in the front. Yeah, the front way, and just show them. Oh, they're showing the photo of it.
Madam
So it is
Chair,
online, and that's pretty much the photo that they're showing that.
Madam Chair,
She's yes.
we can't share information because the public can't see that.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's online anyway, so. Yeah, it's being shown online. All right. Thank you so much. Yes. Okay. So, was there anything else?
No, that was it. I mean, those are also the side windows that would be affected, and if there's any sort of issues there, but.
Okay, thank you so much for that. And there's no one else to speak to this to this matter. Members, do you have any questions? Yes, Member Kidd, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I guess it pertains more to the next application. It's the only place that it's really tight is on the south limit, right by that.
Yeah, it's a
that
5-foot area from what I
Yeah.
understand.
Can you just clarify? I wasn't quite sure what your discussion you had with the applicant in terms of moving that unit.
Well, they agreed in theory to move it, to pay to have it moved.
Pay the cost of
Pay the cost to have it moved. I haven't spoken with my HVAC people who had recently just installed it, whether that's even
But it
viable.
would be possible to move it away from that 5-foot section, the stairwell.
It could, possibly. I don't know that for a fact, right?
Okay.
You know, if you looked at the pictures, there's somewhere where they could, but that's only speculation. I don't know. I haven't spoken with them.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so seeing that there's no one else, and we do have, as you can see from what was shown on screen, your letter of objection. Let's get the agent back out, and let's hear what he has to say about sort of maybe pursuing a private agreement with you, as well as, even though it's not within our perimeters, we haven't heard anything about parking from transport or you know, what could be done about the HVAC, but that could be, you know, something you could privately work out as well, but I'm not sure. I don't want to assume. Please respond and let us know what you're thinking.
Definitely. But the point that I want to indicate that we are not asking for any variance at the back of the property. You know, the area that we had concern with our neighbor, there is no variance. What we propose is as of right. But yes, I attended over there and I understand there is a situation with this newly installed HVAC system, and my client generously agreed that, okay, we don't want to make any issue for our neighbor. That's why we agreed to pay any cost for relocating that new system, which easily can be done to the area that they had more space, getting air from the property, because I'm just on 5 feet of
Sorry, can I pause you there? Can I pause you for
Sure.
1 minute? Just to be clear, because I want to make sure everyone understands what you're saying. So let's take it one at a time. You're saying that that you're able to pay, your clients want to pay for the moving of that system to the other another area where it could be better placed to help?
Exactly.
Did you have that
That's
discussion with the neighbor already, Ms. Polak, who's here?
Yes, I had
Yes,
it,
we
and
did.
I believe
Oh,
that
you
our neighbor
did. So
can
you just wanted to see that it was honored publicly.
I wanted to see publicly, yes, that's
Right.
part of it. I mean, my preference is that it didn't have to be moved, but understandably, we came up with a solution that would work as
Okay.
a second option.
Okay, so
And I wanted it
you're-
publicly stated.
What
Thank
Mr.
you.
Ajvan is doing is just honoring what the discussions were. So
Yes.
continue, Mr. Ajvan. Thank you for that.
Sure. That's the situation, although it's not related to any variance that we have, but we agreed to provide those solutions for our neighbor regarding the parking. As I said, legally, there is one parking spot over there. There is more space, but it's not accessible for the car. As you can see, I highlighted the parking spot that we have, and we're keeping it over there. So basically, we don't change anything in terms of parking requirement. The residential unit doesn't need any parking for now. We need just one parking spot for each commercial building. Basically, we are keeping the situation as it is. Even now, with these two units working separately, they have a commercial tenant, they're working separately. So in terms of adding traffic or issue to the neighborhood, it won't happen anything. And I assume probably that's why transportation didn't take any position, because we are keeping the situation as it is. And I told about the situation with our neighbor. Even for the height, we are asking for a variance to be less than what we have to, half a meter less than what we have to. So we try to limit ourselves to be able to be more compatible with the character of neighborhood.
Okay. Did you get a chance to also address the side of the house, did you say about something to do with fire, privacy, windows?
Yes, definitely. We don't have any window when our setback is less than 3 feet, 90 centimeters, 1.2 meter, 4 feet. We don't have any window over there. All the window that we propose is on the other side of the perpendicular wall and on the area that we have enough setback. The wall that we propose over there definitely should be fireproof, and it's required as building code. It required the fire rating and fire separation, non-combustible cladding and non-combustible assembly over there. So we don't have any issue for the fire situation. There is still a fire department access over there. We kept everything clear, and all these matters will be reviewed during building permit process.
Right, so during the permit process. So I think that pretty much you've responded to all of the concerns of
Yeah, the parking, I guess, you know, I don't understand because there are 2 parking spots there right now.
Yeah.
And there
But
will be only one.
as indicated, transport also
Yeah,
didn't have
then
any
it's out of our
concerns.
hands.
So,
Yeah.
okay, any final words, Mr. Ajvan, before I turn this over to committee?
That's all. I explained everything. I believe that's clear.
All right, that's it. Committee members, do you have any questions or concerns? Knowing that this is also, these are private agreements that they have done, it's not something that we could sort of enforce in the purview of our responsibilities, but it's been noted publicly, and so I think that should suffice in some way, shape, or form. Committee members, it's time to make a decision on 266 Yonge Street, 2666 Yonge Street, 3 variances, and we've heard from the applicant. There's no other concerns. Motion, please. Oh my God. Yes. Motion from Member Kidd.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Having listened to the neighbor and her concerns, it sounds like you've managed to come to some sort of an accommodation with the builder. And I also note that there's no requested variance with respect to rear setback. I'm going to put forward a motion to accept the application.
Okay. Motion from Member Kidd to accept the application as is, seconded by Member Attarodi. All those in favor? Unanimously approved. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. Should I leave this piece of paper you asked me to fill out? Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Bye-bye.
And Mr. Ajvan, you're still here for the next application, which is 2664. We do have a letter of objection from a Susan Hunt there, but that person is not online. I presume it's a similar?
Yes, exactly.
Oh, it's the exact
Similar.
same,
Sure.
right.
They're 2
So-
connected properties, so it's really the same application, in
All
my
right.
opinion.
Okay,
Yeah.
so the same concerns.
same
that were
concerns,
applied.
yeah.
So let's just go on with the motion if you want to wait for a
Okay.
moment. All right, so members, this is the exact same. It's 4 variances this time. We've got sort of the same theme of everything that's going on. Mr. Ajvan, do you want to add anything else before we take this into committee for decision?
No, basically, the basic committee term is exactly the same nature and the same concept.
Okay. Yeah, Mr. Kidd, Member Kidd, go ahead.
Could I see the public notice on the screen? I just want to see what the 4th.
Yeah, what is the 4th? That's what I'd like to understand as well.
The additional variances for this property.
I thought they were the same.
So the 4th is around exceptions, the land and portion thereof, subject to site-specific provisions.
Okay, just numbering, I guess, differently.
Okay.
All right, so is there anything else you'd like to say, sir, before we move this into committee for decision-making?
We are good.
All right. Members, same 4 variances and nothing else. Can I get a motion on this one? Motion from Member Kidd.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Again, I'd like to put forward a motion to accept this application without condition.
Okay, motion from Member Kidd to accept this application without condition, seconded by Member Attarodi. All those in favor? And your application has been unanimously approved. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, and thank you, Ms. Polak, for coming out. Mr. Ajvand, I did notice that you also, I think you had mentioned that you were covering for your wife. I did not realize Ms. Mozaffari was related. So that's coming up as item number 24. Is that the only other one you've got going?
Yes, Madam Chair.
All right, let's do that now so we can get you on your way, because it's only a couple more files away. So members, if we could turn our our attention to item number 24. Number 24 is 30 Morewood Crescent. There's no one here to speak to this application. And let me just pull this up. 30 Morewood Crescent is to a proposal to construct a new dwelling. Please note that there are 12 variances. There's forestry. There is a staff report of September 6th that says, modify variance number 6, and there is one condition attached. There is a transportation report of September 5th that recommends the approval with some conditions. Mr. Ajvand, if you could again, just for the record, state your name and address for this application.
Sure. My name is Mehdi Ajvan. I'm here as the architect of project for 30 Morewood and representative of my client, the owner of 30 Morewood. Thanks.
All right, thank you. So for this, are you making some changes in light of the staff report saying variance number 6 be modified?
Yes, exactly. We amended our drawing and submitted to comply with whatever they commented regarding variance number 6 about the rear deck projection. We reduced it to 3.96 meter instead of 4.27 meter.
So just to confirm, you've said that variance number 6 has now been reduced from 4.27 meters to 3.96 meters. Is that correct?
Yes.
All
yes,
right.
Exactly. I'm 100% okay with tying the rear elevation and side plan to the station.
Any other modifications?
No, nothing.
All right. And you're okay with transport's conditions and the other condition of the staff report, as well as forestry?
Definitely. Definitely.
All right. Let me just double check with the members if they require a presentation on this application. Members, there's no one here to speak to this, and the changes have been made, but I'm not sure if you require an explanation or a presentation. Yes, Member Attarodi?
Yes, I appreciate a short presentation.
Sure. Mr. Ajvan, if you can continue with a presentation on the merits of your application. Sure. Thank you.
Definitely. If I go through, I have a presentation file. If I can have it on the screen, I will explain through that one. For this application, we are asking for a side setback. Actually, that's the most important thing for us to explain on this supportive document. As you can see, we are asking for 1.52 side setback on one side and 1.26 or 1.23 on the other side. But those side setbacks are happening just at the front portion of building, at the rear portion of building, on the north side, on the east side, actually, sorry, on the upper side of the drawing. We have more than required 3.3 meter, and on the western side, we have again more than that for more than half of the building. Regarding the deck variance, we we reduced it as I explained it over there. If I can see on the presentation document, I will also show you all the side setback that we have. Lot coverage variance we are asking is very common in what happening in the neighborhood, in the character of neighborhood size of the houses is happening over there. It's very similar, 32.3 meter. Other variances is two variances is related to wall height, which we are asking for just 25 centimeter, which is very minor in nature. And we have just a deck variance that I explained. We have typical variances for three-car garage, which we have wider driveway as transportation indicated. In a private portion, we have wider one, and when it's go to the public area, we will reduce the driveway to be able to comply with their concern and also potential concern from the urban forestry. That's it. The variance for that regarding the number of story is the technical variance as the planner of the case explained in the report. It is technical variance. This is a 2-story on top of garage, but due to the new definition of basement in zoning bylaw, it will consider as a second story. And some of the variances is consequence of that. The actual rear deck that we have at the main level we consider on the second floor, and all those variances are technical variance, and that's what the planner of the case asked to tie the rear elevation to make sure that everything to be permitted as we propose.
Okay, Member Aturodi, do you have any questions as well? Or members in general? Okay. That being said, then, if there's no questions, there's no one here to speak to this application. Please note that, the variance has been modified, and that is variance number 6 to 3.96 meters. There is a condition as well as one for transportation and forestry. Could I get a motion, please? Motion from Member Hunt, sorry.
Before I make a motion, you mentioned urban planning, urban forestry condition, and I don't have that on mine, on number 24.
Okay, I'm just double checking because there's none? There is. Okay, so I had looked at the forestry report at the very beginning, and I noted that a box was checked for that. So there is forestry, although I don't think that I may see it in the body. Yeah, it is condition number 1 for forestry, yes.
Okay, then, all right, I'll make the following motion that I would approval of item 24, subject to the applicant having revised variance 6, the rear deck projection from 4.27 meters to 3.96, that it be developed in accordance with the rear elevation and site plan attached to the planning report, subject to the conditions of the transportation services on in their memo dated September 5th, and also subject to urban planning.
Okay, urban forestry. And so,
Urban forestry.
Right, and so motion from Member Hunt to approve this application with those conditions, seconded by Member Kidd. All those in favor? Okay, thank you so much. Mr. Ajfand, your application has been unanimously approved with those conditions. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
All right, I think that's it for you, right? So there's nothing else?
Yes,
All right.
Madam Chair. Thank you so much.
Thank you and have a great day. All right, let's move back out to, let's move back up, members, to application number 22. And application number 22 is 83 Yorkview Drive. So 2282 Yorkview Drive. No, that one wasn't deferred. It was number 19 that was deferred. And so this is, there's no one to speak to this application. But application number 22 is a proposal to add a rear yard sunroom addition. And it is, there are 3 variances. I see that there was a forestry condition. There were 2 letters of opposition, although no one's here to speak to it, but you can see that on the file. And there is a September 6th staff report asking for the modifications of variance 1, 2, and 3. So let's get the agent out here, and the agents are one of these 2, Noor Elgendi or Jordan Dejong Shillings.
Good evening, good afternoon, Madam Chair and members of committee. I hope all is doing well today. We just wanted to clarify that they were letters of support that were submitted that should be on file.
Certainly, but if you could state your name and address for the records, please, and then I'll take a look at those letters.
Yeah, my name is Jordan DeYoung Shillings.
Okay, and your address, sir?
83 Yorkview Drive.
Staff, did you catch that? Did you want me to do that again? If you can just repeat that address, your voice cut out.
Yeah, I'm at, well, the client is at 83 Yorkview Drive.
Okay, no, it was supposed to be for your address, not theirs. Not the client, because that's the address in question. We need to know who's, for the record, who's calling.
Sorry. This is Jordan DeYoung Shillings from Four Seasons Sunrooms and Additions at 240 Viceroy Road.
Okay, thank you very much for that. Now, the letters that you were talking about were letters of support. And as you can see, the members, the planning team has put that up. So my apologies. It was meant to support the application, and I've corrected that publicly. So now, are you going to be making any revisions to the application as per the staff report of September 6th?
From September 6th, so we had made adjustments to the plans. We've reviewed it, and we were actually able to modify it down to.
Yeah, so we just need you to state for the record which variance you modified from what to what.
So we modified 36 to 32% on
sorry,
variance
this
1.
is variance number 1. The proposed lot coverage you're seeing. I need you to say it. Like, tell me which variance it is and what it is that you're modifying.
Variance number 2.
Sorry, can you repeat variance number 1? It has to come from you. These are procedural necessities, so please go ahead.
We're modifying variance number 1 for the proposed lot coverage from 36% to 32.2%.
Okay, I'll repeat that. Variance number 1, lot coverage from 36% to 32.2%. Go ahead.
Yes, we're modifying variance number 2 for the proposed building length from 29.78 meters to 20.63 meters.
Okay, variance number 2, the building length from 29.78 to 20.63 meters.
Yes, variance number 3, modifying building depth from 29.78 meters to
20.63 meters, did you say?
Yes.
Okay, your voice keeps cutting in and out, so if you can hold the phone steady and speak into it. So variance number 3, I've heard you say you're doing the proposed building depth is moving from 29.78 meters to 20.63 meters.
That is correct.
Any other changes?
there have not been any other changes necessary.
Okay, thank you so much for that. Because there's no one else to speak to this application, I'm just going to double check with the team. Do you require a presentation at this time?
And just to reinstate, they are reflected in the latest zoning notice.
Right. Thank you for that. Now, there's no presentation required, and if there's nothing else to say, then we'll turn it over to committee for decision making. Can I get a motion, please? Motion from member Attarodi.
Yes, through you, Madam Chair, I would like to put forward a motion to approve this application with the following changes. Variance number 1, the lot coverage is now 32.2%. Variance number 2, the building length is now 20.63, and variance number 3, the building depth is 20.63 meter, and also would like to tie it to urban forestry condition.
Okay, thank you so much for that. Motion from member Attarodi to approve this application with those conditions, seconded by member Hunt. All those in favor? And your application has been unanimously approved, sir, with those conditions. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, let's move on to item number 23, which is 247 Brighton Avenue. 247 Brighton Avenue.
Good afternoon. It's Glenn Rubinoff from Rubinoff Design Group, 18 Gloucester Lane, Toronto, Ontario.
Thank you, Mr. Rubinoff. And this is to permit a dwelling currently under construction. And we've got just 2 variances here, no other staff reports, and no one else to speak to this application. Members, do you require a presentation on this? There being none requirement of a presentation, Mr. Rubinoff, is there anything you'd like to say on your application?
Yes, just briefly. The house was built with permits. The bay windows were built with permits as well. The glazing on the upper bay window, there was a new requirement that came in after the permit was issued, which required the glazing to be at 50%. Because it was slightly under 50%, it triggered a front yard setback variance and a coverage variance of 0.3. So that's the reason why we're here. It's not that everything was done according to proper permits and review. So.
Okay, thank you for that. Members, if no other questions, can I get a motion on this? Motion from member Attarodi.
Yes, through you, Madam Chair, I would like to put forward a motion to approve this application with no condition.
Motion from member Attarodi to approve this application without condition. Is there someone to second that? Seconded by member Kidd. All those in favor? Your application has been unanimously approved. Thank you.
Thank you.
And perhaps maybe we can go on to item number 25, everyone. There's no one here again to speak to this application. We've got, it's 222 Empress Avenue. There are 3 variances. There are some conditions of forestry. And this is an application to construct a new single-family dwelling. We've got Franco Romano on the line. Mr. Romano, are you there?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Franco Romano, Action Planning, 321 Lakeshore, here on behalf of the owner.
Okay, thank you for that. Members, there's no one else to speak to this application. Do you feel you require a presentation at this time? There being none, Mr. Romano, do you have anything that you'd like to share with the members before they take this into committee?
Yes, thank you for that opportunity. Just to say that this is for a new dwelling. The 2 of the 3 variances relate to the rear deck that is ground oriented and has about a 50 centimeter projection longer than the zoning bylaw permits, and has a 1.53 meter side yard setback. And this sidewall height for the dwelling is pretty much in keeping with what's occurring on the street, and I showed that in my presentation slides. Thank you kindly.
All right, thank you so much for that. If there are no other questions then, members, can I get a motion? Motion from Member Hunt.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I believe this is a straightforward application and subject only to urban forestry standard requirements. There are no other department comments or concerns and no neighborhood opposition, so I would move approval as is.
Okay, thank you. Motion from Member Hunt to approve this application as is, and sorry, with forestry, I think I heard you say, right? Right. And seconded by Member Attarodi. All those in favor? Mr. Romano, your application has been approved, subject to forestry. Thank you.
Thank you kindly.
Members,
Appreciate it.
I think that maybe we could, thank you. Members, we could take a break because the next two applications, one of them does have speakers, is with the same agent, Mr. Benskowski, is rejoining us. So let's take a 10-minute break. We'll be back in 10 minutes with item number 26. Thank you.
We are only 145 here concerning. Oh, 145 here concerning. What's the number? Oh, wait. Yeah, maybe older. Maybe older, yeah. Okay. Yeah, just check. Okay. Thank you. Is next to mine? Yep. Okay, it's great.
Today was the creative meetup, and she doesn't have any friends there, so she's like, Mom, should I go? And I said, of course you should. Go to every and anything. Party it up. It's okay. No, she needs it. She's the poor kid through COVID. Like, they have no break. They sit there texting each other. Like, they need to interact. So, I think so. I think she'll really, really like it, you know? So, I think so. But she was saying, oh, everybody has YouTube channels and all this stuff. I said, your time will come. You could start a YouTube channel at 60 and make millions. I've seen doctors go in, right? Like at age 62 into medical school. I mean, come on. By the time they graduate, you're like 70. But it's that, yes, yes, you can do anything at any age. You can do anything. proposed any other. Did you know that can I say this, I dress like this only when because I don't go into the office all the time. You know, every couple of weeks I'll show up. But when I do, I show up like this. And they all look at me like, what Twilight Zone are you coming in? Like they're in like mountain boots as if they're gonna go hiking. And I single-handedly changed the dress code because of my presence. So now the manager who was in Doc Martens now tries to come in and be open toe now and wear a dress. Where they're usually a body hat or that, you know. And then you'll be in pajamas. I'm just waiting for Brandon to give me the go ahead when the 10 minutes is up. Oh, is it that?
Okay. I think we're good to restart soon, and I'll welcome back Member Hunt to the online platform whenever you get a chance. And I should have put my camera on, so I'm there. Okay, so let's restart the final piece of the PM session. And let's move on to item number 26, number 145, Hillcrest Avenue. Jonathan Binskowski is the agent. If you could come online and state your name and address for the afternoon period, please.
Jonathan Benskowski, 301 Keewatin Avenue.
Okay, thank you so much. Mr. Benskowski, this is an item that has 7 variances. There is a September 7th staff report with 1 condition. I also see that there are forestry conditions, and there's no one to speak to this application. Members, do you feel that you require a presentation for this application? 26, yes. Okay. If no presentation is required at this time, I'll ask Mr. Benskowski, do you have anything that you feel you would like to share with the members?
Madam Chair, essentially just a typical new build for the area. Really, the adjacent house mimics this. It's kind of where that street is going.
Okay, not a problem. And members, if there are no other questions, please note 7 variances again. The staff report has 1 general condition and forestry. Can I get a motion, please? Motion from Member Kidd.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I feel the requested variances are minor in nature. I'd like to put forward a motion to accept the application, subject to the condition that the proposal be developed in accordance with the site plan drawing submitted to the Committee of Adjustment, attached as attachment 1 to the planning staff report dated September 7th, 2023, and also subject to forestry conditions.
Okay, thank you. Member Kidd with a motion to approve this application with those conditions, seconded by Member Attarodi. All those in favor? Mr. Benskowski, this application has been unanimously approved. Thank you.
Thank
I
you.
do note that you're here for also application number 27, which is 53 Whittaker Crescent. You don't need to restate your name and address. We note for this application, there is an area resident to speak to it, and that there is, let me just see here. It's an application to construct a new dwelling, 5 variances, forestry, one staff report, and 1 letter of opposition. The staff report has 1 condition. So if you wouldn't mind taking us through a brief presentation on the merits of your case, that would be helpful. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. If we could just bring up the arborist report first, I'd like to quickly review the arborist report and how that influenced the design and a couple of the variances that are before you today. So we did submit an arborist report in support of the application preemptively, knowing the heavily treed nature of this property. Within the arborist report itself, we can see that there actually are no trees to not only be removed, as well as no trees to be injured. The dwelling has been designed in a manner that the TPZs of every tree, both on the subject property as well as the adjacent properties, are to be preserved. We can zoom in on the site plan if we don't have the arborist report. So there is an arborist report on the AIC. So the undulation of the northern part of the house there really follows that tree line if we look at the outline of the trees. So again, there are no trees to be removed or injured. They are entirely to be protected. Secondly, how this affected the variances, this led to us moving the dwelling further away from the street. What that's done is that that has created an increased depth variance for the property. But as we can see, if we zoom out a little bit on this, this portion of Whittakers turns going from north-south to east to west, depending on the direction that you're going. So this is sort of the bulb of the cul-de-sac, although again, it isn't a cul-de-sac, it does continue on a curved portion. So what that means for the impact of the requested variances, if we just move up a little bit to see the dwelling to the south, we would see the substantive setbacks that are located between the dwellings. This again mitigates that increase in building length we're requesting, as well as the building depth created by the moving of the dwelling to the rear. We can also see that the dwellings both to the north and the south are actually not built flush to the property line, but are actually within the angle itself. I would also note that the southern property to the southern property line has a setback of 3.55 meters. To the north, there are those just 2 pinch points where the setback is 1.85 meters, well in excess of the zoning bylaw requirement. I would also note that the adjacent property to the north has a small shed, as we can see. That again creates a further odd shape to the subject property. So to review the variances on their own, we look at the two side main wall heights requesting an increase from 7.5 meters to 8 meters, as well as the front stair width. That front stair width is typical for a new build within this neighborhood. I've been involved in many new builds. Circling back to the proposed building length and the building depth, again, that building depth variance is pushed up to 20.68 meters because the house has been pushed back. In terms of the request for the building length at 18.87 meters, we can see on the site plan that that is only along the southern portion of the dwelling. I think the screen is pixelated a little bit. I'm not sure if the committee, there it is. If we look, that building length variance is only along that southern wall. It's along that southern wall that we have the 3.55 meter side yard setback. In terms of the building length, as it is along the north, we can see that the building has a series of cutouts to mitigate that impact. And additionally, just to stress the location of this being somewhat on the crest of the cul-de-sac, all of the dwellings will turn with there being no consistent rear street wall. So every dwelling will have a different rear setback just based upon the shapes of the lots and where it sits on the cul-de-sac. And we can see that is even evident just from those rear lot lines being a pure triangular shape. I'm happy to speak to the neighbors' concerns once I'm able to hear them.
Okay, thank you so much for that. Members, do you have any questions of the agent? Okay, there being none, let's move on to the next speaker on this application. And I know that they've been trying to get her. Her name is Victoria Jolie. Victoria Jolie, are you there? Have we been able to get a hold of her? Okay, so if she's dialed in, shall we unmute her?
Madam Chair, I just spoke with her on the phone. She's trying to log in.
Okay, so let's hold this for just a minute until she gets in. Okay, I think we do have her. So,
my name is Victoria Jolly. I want to express a profuse apology. I got caught on another Zoom call. I apologize for not making
that's
efficient
okay.
use of
If
respectfully
you
your
could
time.
state your address, that would be helpful to start. So go ahead.
Yes, Victoria Jolly. I reside at 72 Forest Grove Drive.
All right, thank you. And why don't you share your concerns with us today?
Okay, so I am representing on behalf of the two adjoining residents and homeowners at 51 Whittakers Crescent and 55 Whittakers Crescent to object the variances on 53 Whittakers. Okay. So the proposed dwelling, go ahead, sorry.
No, I was just saying yes.
Dwelling.
Continue. Go ahead.
Okay. The proposed dwelling, in advocating for the objections of these two neighbors, they're representing will block morning sun into their backyard and the deck area at 51 Whittakers Crescent. The byproduct is allowing less direct sunlight, causing backyard and deck to be much darker, and perhaps impeding the growth and greenery that they currently enjoy. So the impact on 51 Whittakers is the use and enjoyment of their property as they've, since they've owned it, as they've enjoyed it. If I move over to the 55 homeowner at 55 Whittakers, is their concern just extends to the same issue, if I could say respectfully, blocking the afternoon sun into their dining room. They have a beautiful bay window, causing interior darkness in the home specific to that area. And again, the direct sunlight into the house, which they've enjoyed since they've owned the house. And the other matters are the loss of curb appeal, the height of the house doesn't fit into the public realm or the neighborhood. The last issue, and I may stand alone in my point, but grading issues are usually dealt with through building permits and so on and so forth. So if I could just recap and say that the two adjoining owners are opposing the application here this afternoon for reasons of impacting their quiet enjoyment and the previous use they've had for the property and most importantly the backyards. Thank you very much for giving us the opportunity.
Okay, thank you for those comments. Members, do you have any questions? If not, let's get back then to the agent, Mr. Benskowski. You've heard what Ms. Jolie had to say. Are you able to respond, please, within a 5-minute time frame?
Yes, absolutely. I'd just like to address the height issue first and how I'm assuming curb appeal means how it is interpreted or seen from the streetscape. If we could go to the side, one of the side elevations, the proposed height of the dwelling is 10 meters. That's perfect right there, which is exactly as per the zoning bylaw. As it addresses Whittakers, the height is at 9 meters. The 10 meters is only for that middle portion of the dwelling. This Whittakers is actually, this whole portion of Whittakers is actually built up from the actual sidewalk. Well, there isn't a sidewalk, from the roadway itself. So as you're looking up, the house will actually appear as a 9-meter house with the bulk of that roof being recessed, as we can see, the one measurement being 5'2". There's another architectural element. We're looking at somewhere around 15 feet until we reach the maximum height that's permitted at 10 meters. The request that is before you is for the side main wall height, which in my opinion is for a modest 0.5 meters. In terms of loss of sunlight, there are very, very generous side yard setbacks. If we could go back to the site plan, to the proposed site plan also, we can see where this property is situated again on these cul-de-sacs. So because of the location, that's perfect right there. And we can see the north arrow where it is there, really on almost a northwest quadrant of the property. In terms of loss of sunlight, I don't see much of an issue based upon the location of the dwelling being really in the middle, the substantive side yard setbacks. And if we look at the location of the dwellings, generally you have a rear deck that would be built perpendicular to your dwelling. So if we take where the exterior amenity space would be for those adjacent dwellings to the north and the south, they would be located more towards the middle of the dwelling, further away from this house. So in terms of the loss of sunlight, the building is requested as per the zoning bylaw. The building length is really the variance at 18.5 meters, which again is only for that one pinch point on the side, but that is mitigated by the 3.55 meter side yard setback we're proposing, in addition to the 1.46 meter side yard setback at that front pinch point. And as we can see to the south, the dwelling actually moves away from the property line. So in terms of loss of sunlight, I don't see much of an issue from it. Again, just due to the substantive setbacks as well as the building height being permitted from the zoning bylaw. The main wall height does not affect any type of loss of sunlight.
Okay, thank you for that response. Members, do you have any questions? Okay, if there are no other questions and no other comments, we've got an application here. You've heard from the neighbor, you've heard the rebuttal. That includes the one letter of opposition. There is a staff report with one condition, a general condition, 5 variances, forestry applies. Can I get a motion? Motion from Member Attarodi.
Yes, through you, Madam Chair. I would like to put forward a motion to approve this application with one staff condition mentioned on the report dated September 7, 2023, that the proposal be developed substantially in accordance with the north and south elevation drawings submitted to the Committee of Adjustment, attachment 1 and 2, and also would like to tie it to urban forestry condition.
Okay, thank you. Member Attarodi with a motion to approve this application with those conditions, seconded by Member Hunt. All those in favor? Your application, Mr. Benskowski, has been unanimously approved with those conditions. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, members, let's turn our attention then to item number 28. Item number 28 is to permit an exterior renovations to an existing dwelling and a new front and rear canopies, new windows, exterior cladding, etc. There is 9 variances. There is a staff report on file with one condition, September 7th, and that's a general condition. Transportation of September 6th has no objections, and TRCA has also no objections. So let's get Robert McCatchy out. Mr. McCatchy, are you there?
Hi, good morning, or good afternoon.
If you could state your name and address one more time for our records, please.
Robert McCackey, I'm the architect on file. Our office just moved. We're now at 160 Pears Avenue.
Okay. Planning staff, you got that? Good. All right. So, Mr. McCackey, let me just double check with members. Members, we don't have anything else on file, and there's no one to speak to this. Do you feel you require a presentation or any questions or concerns? And they're being,
I can give a short presentation.
yeah, if you want to do that, no problem. Go ahead.
Sure. We did provide some supplementary information. It's just 4 renderings. I think it was yesterday. And I think it just visualizes it more than the 2D line drawings do. I mean, we've got really 5 things that we're looking at. The driveway is something that comes across the front of the property and gives us this really wide-looking variance. But that's an existing driveway, and transportation is okay with the way it's configured. We're just changing the outline of that driveway, and that's why the zoning examiner identified that as a variance. The front setbacks are all really we're recladding the building, and it's like out 2 inches from where it was before, and that triggered the same variances that were requested when this building was built about 10 years ago. Landscaping, very minor. We're off by like 3%, I think, in the front and the back. We are introducing a balcony at the front over the garage that has been there mysteriously for years, but it doesn't seem to be. So we're requesting a variance for that. We did find precedent for those in the area for similar size balconies, and it has little impact on our neighbors. Throughout this process, we did speak with the neighbors, and no one had any concerns with what we were doing. They just generally saw it as an improvement to the house. We did receive very late 1 letter of support, and then the canopies at the front and the back of the house also triggered some variances. There is some 3D renderings in a 4-page PDF that we added that show these pretty clearly. If we could pull that up.
You may continue while they're looking for that.
That was pretty much it.
Yeah, it's quite a nice design, just to say that.
Thank you.
Are we still pulling that up? Okay, it's coming. Just to give members an idea of what you were talking about.
Yeah, these are them. This was 2 images at the front, and this just shows and these are the back. Yeah, this is instead of it being like a separate pergola, we just had those lines come off the back of the house. The facades are a bit flat, and we're just trying to find ways of making it not look just like a box, but these kind of slipping planes. And then at the front of the house, a lot of those canopies, some of those canopies were already there. We've just reconfigured them to be the same design language that we have at the back here. But the footprint, generally the footprint of everything's, and we got these kind of massive posts that support these canopies. Instead of these, there's like a very fine, small metal column that was there before. And that's it.
Yeah, so it's quite a lovely, modern, streamlined, sleek look. But alas, we're not here to comment on the design. I think it's pretty neat. But anyway, let's see what the members think. Members, do you have any questions? Okay, and there's no one to speak to this application. Then, if not, there's 9 variances, as you know. Staff report has 1 condition of September 7th, and transportation has no objections, no TRCA. Can I get a motion? Motion from Member Attarodi.
Yes, to you, Madam Chair, I would like to put forward a motion to approve this application with 1 staff condition mentioned on report dated September 7th, 2023, that width of the driveway may be developed in accordance with the landscaping plan attached to the report. And I know transportation have no concern, and but have a memo but no concern. So that's my motion.
Okay, thank you so much for that. Member Attarodi with a motion to approve this application with those conditions, seconded by Member Hunt. All those in favor? Unanimously approved with those conditions. Thank you so much, sir, and good luck.
Thanks.
All right, members, let's turn our eyes to the last item of the day, and that is item number 29. That's 119 Melrose Avenue. Please note that this is a proposal to construct a new 3-story single-family detached dwelling. There are area residents to speak to this application. Let's get the agent out, Sandra Gava. Ms. Gava, are you there?
Hi, good afternoon, Sandra Gava. My address is 669 Montego Crescent, Burlington.
Thank you. Noting that there's 5 variances, there are forestry conditions, but there's quite a lot of letters of objection that were noted on the file, 11 to be exact. So why don't you provide us with a brief presentation on the merits of your case, and we'll hear from the neighbors as well. You'll get a chance to respond. Go ahead.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Madam Chairman and respected committee members. Thank you for your time this afternoon. I'm the architect and agent for this application. May I please request that the supporting material that was uploaded on September 13th be pulled up to the screen? I think you had it up there a second ago. Yes, thank you. So I just want to break down the letters of objection that were received. While there appear to be 13 total, 3 original and 10 new, 8 of the 10 received for this hearing were unaddressed. And based on the names, we were able to look up the addresses, and out of all of the objection letters received, only 2 are within properties within the 60-meter circulation radius that would have any impact by the project. So we have reason to believe that the remaining letters were orchestrated by one individual, and as you can see, do not live in close proximity to the property or even in the Bedford Park neighborhood. So in short, there are only 2 local neighbors. If you could please scroll down there to the diagram below. There are only 2 known local neighbors that have written objections about this proposal, 3 total letters from our adjacent neighbor, and 1 original letter reinstated for this hearing for the neighbor in behind. If I could please request that the supporting material that was uploaded on September 6th be pulled up. So it's a presentation. Yes, thank you. That's the document. Yes, thanks. If we could just start with that site plan. So we were deferred from our last hearing to be able to provide the supporting documentation on the right-of-way encroachment, and it was suggested that we take the time to deal with neighbor concerns. We have come back with an amendment to the depth of the building and have pulled the rear wall back by 2 feet. Now we are only 0.61 meters from the required building depth. That's that area illustrated in the blue hatch, which was the main area of concern for our adjacent neighbor. Could we go to the next slide, please? So just to summarize the variances, our FSI is now down to 0.9 from 0.93. Our building depth, like I mentioned, is now 17.61, and our west side yard setback, while it was always 0.67 meters, it wasn't identified properly on our original zoning review, which is why it appears as an added variance now. Could I please request we go to the next page? As per the transfer, release, and abandonment document that was provided, Parts 1 and Parts 4 were released from the right-of-way in 2006. So just as our neighbor has built into Part 1, we would like to build into Part 4. And this variance is technical in some ways in nature. If we had no windows on that side, we would be permitted 0.45. But because we have a few openings on the ground floor level, we are asking for relief of the 0.9 meters. That's 23 centimeters. We're at 0.67. Since the committee is familiar with this application, I won't go into the other points in any great detail. If we could just quickly go through the next 3 slides. With respect to our main wall height, we would like to stress that we are under the overall height requirement. In fact, 8 inches lower than our adjacent neighbor. And we feel that it reads like a 2-story plus roof like all the other homes in the neighborhood. Here, building depth, we were at 18.22. Now we're at 17.61, which has, apologies. Sorry, 17.61, and we feel that we have very strong precedents for depth approvals in this neighborhood. 15 houses in the neighborhood approved higher, and similarly, our floor space index, 5 very similar ones on the street. Lastly, if we could just go to that rear elevation view. And I think it's up a few pages. I just wanted to point out that the deck's variance is only in respect to its width, where we are asking for it to be the width of the building. We do intend to put landscape screening on both sides to address the privacy issues as best as we can. Thank you, and please let me know if you have any questions.
Okay, thank you so much for that. Members, do you have any questions? Yes, Member Kidd, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. If I remember correctly, we looked at this application a couple of months ago or in the recent past, and I was concerned that 119 Melrose was building on the registered right-of-way, and you've come back to us, and on your sketch of the right-of-way diagram, you say that parts 1 and 4 have been released from the right-of-way. C transfer release and abandonment AT 109 1141. When I read that document releases the right-of-way over part 1 on that reference plan, but it makes no mention whatsoever of part 4, which is the part of the right-of-way that you're proposing to build on. Again, I have the problem that it's very difficult for us to approve a development unless we have proof that I know you can, it's your contention that you have in fact released have a release for that right away, but we don't have any evidence of that. Can you respond to that, please?
I believe it is in this document that both of those.
Can you read that out for me? Because in the statement section of that document, there's no reference whatsoever to part 4 on the register plan 66 220 260.
Okay, if I could just have a moment to review it here. Yeah. Just looking at the page that makes that reference.
That document you refer to lists the right-of-way over part 1, which is for the neighbor, the 121 Melrose.
So if you take a look at page 3, land transfer tax statements, there's also a reference to part 4 at the top.
Can you read that out to me, please? I don't see it here.
Land transfer tax statements in the matter of the conveyance of 21145-079. And then there's a second part of the servient lands designated as part 4 on plan 66R 2260 City of Toronto.
there any chance we can see that up on the screen? Because I can't see on my copy which she's referring to here. If you look down in the statements for
Top of page 3.
Yeah, I'm on page 3 as well. At page 3 of AT 109-1142, if you read the statements, it says the transfer is partially releasing the benefit of the existing right-of-way. The release affects part of lot 234, designated as part 1 on that reference plan. Following the partial release, the right-of-way benefiting the property continues to extend over part 2 on that reference plan. But there's no reference whatsoever to part 4.
So I mean, isn't page 7 essentially the same thing as page 3? It's both. It's part 1 and part 4.
If you give us one moment, we're just looking into this right now. Just hold down.
Okay.
Yeah, what instrument?
Even on the very first page, now I see this. Very first page at the top, there's 2 check boxes on the right-hand side, remove easement, remove easement. And at the top it says designated as part 4 on the plan.
Okay, I'll ask you to hold on for 1 second because they're looking into things, and maybe what we could do is...
Oh, okay. Yeah, the problem was it's not instrument number AT 109-1141 as you mentioned in your that sketch. It's 42. It's a subsequent instrument, and that's the one that releases it over part 4. So that's good. That answers my concern. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions then, Mr. Kidd or anyone else on the panel? Then let's turn it over to the next speaker that we have here, and that's Diego Janelli. Diego Janelli, are you there?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, if you could state your name and address for the record, please.
Yes, Diego Janelli, 121 Melrose Avenue. So there are members of the Committee of Adjustment. Before I go through my points, I just want to make a few points here from the previous architect. A few things that she said are very misleading. Number one, she speculated saying that a lot of neighbors are not located within the Bedford Park, which is something that she's not being truthful. She doesn't know that. Number two, she talks about the height of the house. You can see from some of the plans that she shows from the back of the house how you can see the 119 being taller than both houses, right? Number three, those renderings are not very done to scale, so are also very, very confusing, right? So and also she claimed that there's 2, I think, people in the immediate vicinity, which is not accurate. There's another neighbor, I think Luigi Pedretti, that sent a letter the first time. So there's a few inaccuracies that I want not to influence and mislead you, okay? I think problem with this application is that 6, not 1, but 5 material variances from the existing bylaw, not only vulnerating the spirit of these bylaws, but my right as a next door neighbor, but also the broader implication of the overall harmony and visual integrity of the surrounding houses. The first variance is one of the most damaging for us. A big portion of my family room, kitchen, and walk area will greatly be impacted by losing considerable natural light from 6 a.m. to 11 a.m., blocking our views from our backyard to the open green area by all immediate neighboring houses' backyard, not to mention the loss of privacy from a very high risk, which is very important. It's a very high risk, the highest that ever has been built over there that extend well beyond the 1.2 meters that's in violation with the current 70 meters by law. Number two, the limit of the height of the side extension main wall facing a side lot to line to 8.5 meters. However, the proposed height is almost 11, which is almost 30% incremental. So it doesn't seem to be further exacerbating the visual impact and overshadow neighboring property. The deviation not only compromises the privacy and view of the adjacent home, but also disregards the established regulation that aim to preserve the integrity of our community. The proposed floor space index of 0.93% exceeds by 50% the current bylaw 0.6 times. So again, not a minor variation. The excessive floor space index amplified the bulk and the scale of the proposed construction, and the variances would undoubtedly mark the scenic views that my property afford. The number 4, the required, I'm going to skip that. I'm going to go to the number 5. A platform without main walls, such as the deck and porch that they're planning to do, is 0.9 meter. Proposed first and second story platform has a west side setback of 0.67 meter, or 25% above the norm, or the east side, which impacts me, a setback of 0.45 meter, which is 50% above the norm. This encroachment on the east side setback not only compromises the privacy of my family and neighboring property, but also casts a doubt of our shadow of our home, significantly reducing the amount of natural light. I reiterate that the impact of the current plans could be significantly mitigated by the applicant if he was to bring the front of the house forward 3 feet, which would still be slightly behind my house front limit. This adjustment would allow for the accommodation of 2 vehicles parked, one behind the other, as depicted in photos Exhibit B and Exhibit C. However, the applicant apparently inflexibility at the expense of the grounded interest of the resident like me remains deeply concerning. My foremost concern revolves around the applicant persistent disregard for the guidance expectations set forth by this esteemed committee during the initial hearing on July 13. It was unambiguously communicated that the applicant should engage in meaningful dialogue with me to address the valid concern and collaboratively find solutions that could accommodate the interest of both parties. Regrettably today, the applicant actually has been disappointed short of this expectation. His approach has been characterized by a stark absence of genuine dialogue and seeming reluctant to consider the profound implication of the proposal change. On several occasions, the applicant has conveyed an unwarranted confidence in obtaining approval for the application, regardless of the concern raised by the neighboring resident, including myself. In fact, the applicant says that he doesn't need to adjust his house plan because past variance application from houses, as pointed out by the architect, residing within 2 kilometer radius are always approved by the committee of adjustment, irrespective of the concern raised by the neighborhood. He said to me that odds are totally against me and the resident. As you can attest, his mindset, dismissal of the genuine concern of the community is disheartening. The proposed alteration threatens to disrupt the delicate equilibrium and set an undesirable precedent for future development. I remain really steadfast in my belief that these variances should be treated as exceptions, guided by the understanding that municipal bylaw exists to serve as a crucial purpose and should not be weighed as a matter of routine. So there's a solution that I propose him, but the neighbor says that doesn't want to do it because his cars don't fit, which I prove it wrong. And he says it's expensive, but another branch costs $300. So there's a solution, and he's not engaged in dialogue, something that could be, be solved.
Okay, thank you so much for that. Members, do you have any questions? Okay, I'm not seeing any questions that's coming out. Then, let's then move on, and we'll get the agent to come back out after. But we do have one more person online, and that is a Ben Taylor.
Madam Chair, I spoke with Mr. Taylor on the phone. He is no longer able to participate today.
Okay, all right. Thank you so much for that information. So let's then bring back out the agent. Ms. Gava, you've heard from Diego Janelli about his concerns, and we couldn't hear from Mr. Taylor, but likely he might have wanted to echo some of that. Please provide a rebuttal to those concerns.
Yes, thank you. We have engaged with this neighbor multiple times since the start of this project and have respectfully listened to his concerns. We reached out to him to share our ideas about reducing the building depth, but we did not receive a reply to our invitation for discussion, and we still haven't to date. We believe our revision on the building depth to 17.61 meters is a strong sign of good faith and a fair compromise despite his ongoing opposition. There are a lot of accusations thrown around, which I won't speak to, but I'm just going to stick with the points here. Privacy views and sunlight concerns appear to be the ongoing thread here as to why these variances are not minor. And I just want to speak with respect to each of those variances in comparison to what is permitted. So, for example, if we were to shrink the sides of the rear deck by 23 centimeters on one side and 0.45 centimeters on the other, I would suggest that the privacy and views would stay the same, similar to the sunlight, which we have provided a shadow study for. Extremely minimal differences between what's permitted and proposed. Similarly, if we were to pull the building in by 23 centimeters and not have our side yard setback, I would also say that sunlight is very minimally impacted, as well as privacy and views. The wall height, for example, if you wouldn't mind pulling up the front elevation rendering. It was just in that same presentation there. Yes, that one, thanks. So comparing the wall height variance between what is permitted versus what is proposed. If the wall height variance was not permitted, what we would do is we would slope the front roof and the back roof so that it is classified as a roof with a dormer as opposed to a front wall. And then in that way, we would be able to have 2 of the 4 side wall heights granted, and this wouldn't be a variance at all. So in comparison to what is permitted versus proposed, again, I would suggest sunlight, privacy, and views would not be much different from what we were asking for. Overall, we feel that this is a very appropriate scale for the neighborhood. The variances are minor. They do meet the 4 tests of the bylaw, and we hope that you can consider those points in your decision. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And committee members, do you have any questions at this moment? I want to also bring your attention to the objection letter in the file, that there is one at the very end from a Jolena Buking. Joelma Buking, I think I might not be saying that correctly. But, you know, just consider that as well on the overall. And I think, Ms. Member Attarodi, you had a question? Go ahead.
Yes, through you, Madam Chair. One of the previous neighbor has a concern regarding variance number 2, the height of a side exterior main wall facing lot line, which is 10.96. Would you please just explain, give us some explanation regarding this variance?
Yeah, so this variance is in respect to the side main wall heights. The overall height by lot is 11 meters here. So we're asking for 10.67 meters for the side walls. This is really the sort of the architectural nature of this dwelling. It's a very narrow lot, and we would like to have the side walls be that high so that we can have an appropriate 3rd floor. As I mentioned before, the bylaw states that you are allowed to have 2 of the 4 walls go beyond the 8.5 meters. So in this case, all 4 walls are going beyond the 8.5 meters. So that is why we are asking for 10.96 on the side. And we do feel that this building reads as a 2-story plus a roof from the front, which is very typical in the neighborhood. And, you know, as you can see, everything here is scaled perfectly. I do have the top of roof heights from the survey, so those are accurate. You can see it does fit in nicely to, you know, in comparison to the existing dwellings. I don't feel that the sidewall height is really, you know, impacting anybody in any way, given these narrow side lot lines.
Does that respond to your question? Member Attarodi, do you have any others? Okay. Any other questions, members? If not, let's consider, you know, the 5 variances, forestry. There's a number of letters of objection that's noted on file. You've heard from one of them, who also shared concerns about where the 11 letters might have been coming from. We've heard from the agent who's tried to rebut all of this. And now it's up to you to make a decision. Whenever you're ready, can I entertain a motion, please? And if you need to sort of take it into committee and share with each other opinions or anything, feel free to do so before you make your individual decision. Okay, Member Kidd, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Listen to both of the speakers here. There's, you know, a number of contentious issues, but in the end, you know, I want to turn my attention more to the requested variances. And to me, I think they seem appropriate. I think they seem minor in nature. And I'd like to put forward a motion to accept the application subject to forestry condition.
Okay, motion from Member Kidd to accept this application and subject to forestry. Seconded by? If there's no second, this motion would fail and we'll have to redo a motion, but seconded by Member Attarodi. All those in favor? And all those dissenting? Member Hunt dissenting. Ma'am, your application has been approved, subject to forestry. Thank you.
Thank you.
So that brings us to the end of our session today. Thank you, members of the city planning staff, as well as members of the the panel. It feels like it's been a long day, although we're closing off at 4:34. Thank you very much, and can I get a motion to terminate this hearing, please?
To you, Madam Chair, motion to terminate at 4:35 p.m.
Okay, and seconded by Member Hunt, and we're all in favor. Thank you. That ends our session. Goodbye, everybody.